Hey guys, it's Kazi here, and boy did we get some nice information. Okay, so with the coming of the latest JP data download, we actually got a whole bunch of stuff. One thing that comes to mind is actually the damage reduction icon that we now get on our cards, as well as bosses. But when receiving this information, we also got the absolute heartbreaker, which is enemies can now have a chance to critical. What does this mean for the game? For one, we don't know if this is going to be just one enemy, if this is going to be a group of enemies, or if this is going to be all enemies. So we have to keep that in mind. They might not give every single enemy a chance to crit. But for the sake of this video, let's just assume they are. Let's say they're going to give every single boss a chance to crit by 5%. 5% chance to crit. What does that mean? Well, for starters, that means that cards that have things like guard, damage reduction, all of these abilities, these defensive abilities, they exponentially get better. With that being said, it also drops the viability of a lot of cards that rely too heavily on just their stats. One of the main cards that comes to thought when I think of cards that rely too heavily on stats is actually Junior, Piccolo Jr. This card was an absolute menace when it came out, and this is the type of character to where every time you see him, you are just absolutely surprised with the amount of stats he gets by the time his attacking turn is over. So if we look at his passive here, it's attack defense 101, 5 turns, 150, plus an additional, plus an additional, plus an additional. So by the time he actually attacks, he's so much stronger than you actually think. You'll start the turn 220,000, right? 220k. By the end of the turn, after you've done all your supers, you're sitting at like 800, 900, 1 million defense. Boom, flat like that. This guy is the king of just absolute jerking off your stats. Now that we've established what a stat pattern is, we're going to go ahead and look at some cards that are going to get exponentially better if said critical does apply to all bosses. First one that comes to mind is, of course, Beast Gohan. Because Beast Gohan has this lovely ability, which is guard and damage reduction by 40%. And then obviously he's always guarding. Cards like this are going to get so much better, and they're going to age a lot better than cards that just have stats. That's always been true. If we look at something like LR Jiren, who was just a stat monster when he came out, he was great, but he aged out very quickly when they started introducing other cards that have things like guard, things like dodge, things like hints of damage reduction. Of course, a card will still be great if you mix all of these together. For example, Vegeta is a great example of that, where a card has a little bit of DR, has guard, and also gets ridiculous stats. When he gets hit, he gets a ridiculous amount of defense depending on how much HP you get. There are cards like that to where they're kind of all-arounders. Of course, he's going to age a lot better than if he was just boom defense on hit. That being said, you're going to really start having to look at cards like Beast Gohan, cards like Super Gogeta that have these active skills that can kind of get you out of a situation. In Gogeta's case, when he transforms, he has a redirection active skill. Same thing with Beast Gohan. He has a redirection active skill to get all the attacks towards him, which is already extremely powerful in JP. This guy literally is unkillable. There are very few things, if any, that can ever challenge this guy. He'd have to get super attack, lose all of his defense, come back next turn with no defense, and then get super attack twice to really die. Like, that is how powerful this guy is. He's an extremely valuable unit to every single person, and that's why I think you should be summoning for him on the 9th year. With that being said, with this critical hit probability for enemies in the future, I want to go ahead and say that it's not going to be the end of Dokkan. It's not going to be, oh, I jump into the event, and then boom, I just got crit, it's over. Chances are you were just going to die anyways if that's how it is. This isn't going to change the landscape of things so much that you're going to have to summon for the new card. I believe, truthfully, that the way that Dokkan was going before the implementation of this, we were starting to see a little bit of the, oh, well, now I just have to summon for all the new cards. Because Beast Gohan hit a peak. He is the strongest card to ever come out. There's nothing really even close. The closest I would say would probably be Gogeta, or it would be LRK and Caulifla. But even then, they had their weaknesses. Beast Gohan has no weaknesses. He simply doesn't. So at the rate that they were going without this chance for critical hit probability, there really was a real world where you would have to summon for all the new cards to do all of the new content. Now, it's a little bit bright of a future because now things are starting to get more so towards the roles of cards, the roles of certain teams. And I think that that's going to be a positive push forward for Dokkan. I mean, we're getting into our 10th year. It's about time we started seeing some things like this. The game is already extremely RNG. You have chances to get stats, chances to dodge, chances to crit. Everything is about chances. Dokkan as a whole is literally just a gacha game, so everything is about chance. So this small chance to crit, if it were on every single boss, seems like a good push forward. Obviously, we'll know more about this. Possibly the worldwide download celebration, I'd assume. Typically, they like to implement these really, really big effects, like the domain, like the standby, during worldwide. So we'll go ahead and check back in, and hopefully, this will be for not just 1, 2, 3 bosses in like a red zone, but this will be for all of the events moving forward. Not the old events necessarily, just the events moving forward. Thank you for your time. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you all later.